Hello guys, and welcome to my new series called Alternate Future of the Universe, Humanity, or yada yada whatever. We're going to start off with Earth over here, and as you know, in 2029 there will be a Apophis flyby. So we'll just do that, and that's Apophis. And then in 2061, there will be a Halley's Comet flyby. So then we'll see Halley's Comet coming through, like always. Oh, and by the way, this is part 1. There's going to be multiple parts. And then boom. Wow, that's crazy. A couple years later, we have another country landing on the moon. I'm going to predict it's going to be the United Kingdom. But yeah, now we have multiple people, and now the moon's like going to be a landing pad so that we can terraform Mars. Now, a couple years later, Earth becomes a little hotter. Not that hot, but average days would be like 90 degrees now. So it's a tad hotter, but I don't think it's gonna hurt anyone for now. Now, we're going to go skip a couple years, and we're gonna go to Mars. Now, before any human lands on Mars, we're gonna have to inspect Phobos and Deimos for like a rebound spot in case something goes wrong. But over time, people do step foot on Mars. NASA provided this, and it's a very, very important event. Now, we are going to have bases on Mars. So, these aren't city lights, but these are bases. So, like, you see this big ring, that's the first base. Now we're building a lot of bases. And now, we're going to start and try to terraform it. Although this is gonna be like 500 years later. Now we're going to start terraforming it. So we're going to add a little water. Not that much water. It's gonna be kind of like that. We can't even fill up Valles Marineris yet, but that is as much water as we need. We used it from grabbing ice from the poles of Mars and melting it. So, yeah, just ignore... Oh, I clicked that. Going back to Mars. So, we're going to have, like, the polar ice caps are going to be melted. And then there's this other spot that was, like, water, too. It was just big oceans. And now, we can finally start planting stuff. So how we're gonna plant stuff is like we're gonna have like something that's very advanced or whatever, and then we're gonna have plants. And now we're gonna have some grass, but we're still having dust storms. So this is like another 300 years later. We're still having dust storms. So we came up with an idea that we're going to adapt the plants. We're gonna like modify the plants in a way so they can absorb dust, because plants can adapt to certain stuff. And these are like new species because they have to absorb dust, of course. But we still have more problems: the magnetic sphere and the atmosphere. So what we're gonna do with the magnetosphere is just do some very advanced stuff to give it a magnetosphere, and wow, we have a magnetic sphere. Okay, now for the atmosphere, we're gonna add some nitrogen. We're gonna like boil it or whatever they're gonna do to make it better. We're gonna add nitrogen in the atmosphere. Then we're gonna add oxygen, of course, and a little carbon dioxide. So now Mars can be pretty habitable, but we do need to make it more dense since it's further away from the sun. As you can see in the top left, it's now 28 degrees. So it's livable. And now we are going to start sending the first very rich people. Only the most privileged can go to Mars first. And now we're going to have the first non-astronauts go to Mars. But of course, they have to be astronauts. So now they have landed on Mars. But one little issue. If you want to live on Mars and have your bloodline move there, you're going to have to adapt to the lower gravity. Mars's gravity is very, very, low, or whatever. It's like 0.107, or that's its mass, but you get it. It's 3 times, you can jump 3 times higher on Mars than Earth. So, yeah, it's going to be pretty weird, but the astronauts, over time, they did adapt to it. Also, what happened to the city lights? Okay. It gets a little bit less sunlight, so our skin is going to have to be darker to absorb all the sunlight or whatever we're going to do. And now we have officially terraformed Mars. This is like 1,000 years later, but we actually did it, and now the population is 200,000. Apart from the 100,000 we used to have, but there are some people who actually gave birth on Mars. So I guess you could say that there are also people there, but it's like 200,000 plus. Back at Earth, the sun became a Type 1 civilization, and we can build a Dyson Sphere. We have built a Dyson Sphere around the Earth, but we're going to hold on. We also have, we actually also have the moon, and we also build a Dyson Sphere around the moon. Now you're thinking that this is really dumb. Yes. To practice building a Dyson Sphere around a whole star, they gotta practice around their own planet. So actually scratch the Dyson Sphere around the Earth, because that would not be, that would not be realistic at all. So it's actually the moon that has a Dyson Sphere. And now we can use the energy from the moon to go and, because the moon's a rebounder, and now we can the energy from the moon to go to Mars. Okay, so now the sun is increasing in brightness and temperature. It's now 11,952 degrees Fahrenheit. And the Earth is scorching. So it's not really habitable anymore. And we are thinking what we're going to do about this situation. We don't want to lose our Earth immediately, but just in case, we are starting to build a lot of rocket ships. We are starting to build a lot of rocket ships to go to Mars. The Earth is about to reach a greenhouse effect, but the atmosphere gets a little thicker, and now it's 300 degrees Fahrenheit. And also, sea levels rises because the sun is melting all the ice caps, and also we are melting all the ice caps too. So the sea levels has risen a lot, and England is almost flooded. Is basically flooded. So now, back to Mars. Mars is 105 degrees Fahrenheit. Mars's atmosphere actually started to change to a bluish, kind of like Earth's. But since we don't need this atmosphere anymore, we can start to use it for some other stuff. So now we have used it to for our advantage like the nitrogen, so astronauts can like breathe when they're in space, and that we have a nice level supply of oxygen to migrate to Mars. Now everyone, so 1,000 years, this is gonna take a long time, so not 1,000 years later. Oh yeah, I forgot to talk about how fast the spaceships are. The spaceships, since we have a lot of energy from the moon, I think we can go pretty fast. We could probably reach Mars in around 4 years. But like, we can go 0.05% the speed of light. Actually, no, that's way too fast. We can go pretty fast. That's for sure. We can probably go as fast as Voyager 1. So now we can reach Mars at a nice time, 4 years. But before we even start these missions, we need to wait for Earth to catch up to Mars. So this is the time Earth catch up to Mars. So now Mars is in a nice... Okay. Now that we have Earth lined up with Mars, we can finally start sending the first people to go. And also, the Dyson Sphere the moon is no longer like useful anymore. We just go there when we need energy and whatever, because it's gonna take a long time just to get to the moon. So we're gonna start building Dyson Spheres around Phobos and Deimos. So we're sending our first people to go to Mars, and the spaceships are going to head like for somewhere for like when will the 2 years happen, or the 4 years? Okay, now we're sending first people. You can see it's 2067. So the spaceships have met up to Mars. We did it pretty. There wasn't any issues, I think you could say. But the spaceship is just a little ahead of Mars, so we gotta wait a little. Okay, now we are in the sphere of influence in Mars. And we have finally landed in Mars. Okay, now we are landing in Mars. So everyone, just skip that. Everyone's landing in Mars, and everything's normal. No one lives on Earth, so like the population's 0. And now we're aiming to build Dyson Spheres around Phobos and Deimos. It is going to be a little weird since they're not even spheres, but it's going to be way easier. Although they don't have as much energy, like what I said, they're only going to go to the moon to get energy from, so that can go to like Jupiter. Speaking of Jupiter, we are going to start our first missions to Europa. Yes, it might be really hard, but we do have the technology to do it, and we are closer. But that is going to be for episode 2.